So today I have Erika Bennett on the show, and she is a strength and conditioning coach for over 10 years from the Ottawa area, mom, and a worldwide athlete. And I'll let her tell us more about that. And the reason why I'm bringing Erika on is because she encompasses everything that I truly believe in, right? Mom, getting fit, helping others. And I feel like she's going to have a lot of good knowledge for all of us who are looking to achieve better health. She's going to have that good everyday experience that I think that we all need to hear more about. So, Erika, I'll let with you starting your bio. You kind of told me a lot about the sports that you play, but I'll let you kind of tell us more about yourself.
Well, thanks, Harry. It's great to be with you here and aligned on trying to influence people to change their lives for the better. And I definitely got that influence young, playing sports as a kid, and also basketball, touch football, a little bit of ringette and hockey. But as an adult, I'm 43 years old. I won a national championship with my football team this year, and I competed at another nationals in Nova Scotia for flag football. So, I play about 50 games of touch or flag football a year, and having a good lifestyle in terms of, training and sleep and how we feed ourselves and how we manage stress. Those are things that have helped me still get to be a kid well into my 40s and play sports and have enough energy to, I approach life with more enthusiasm than known to many. So it's my job, it's my purpose, my mission to deliver that and share that with other people. And as a trainer and as an athlete, I fit in really well with that attitude into a team dynamic. So, wanting to share that experience with people who maybe never played sports or did play sports when they were a kid, but just sort of fell away from that. And it's not even about sports. It's just having something you enjoy to do that makes your body feel good, helps you manage stress, helps you manage physical and mental health. Those are all things that in the world of personal training and sports, really dovetail well together. And I think there's not enough leadership in our sort of day to day. We see a lot of Instagram. I like how you talk about that. Like, we're not talking about the Instagram stuff. We're talking about the real everyday stuff that's kind of boring, but really good if you can do it consistently every day. And I think that's the kind of leadership and role models that we need to be for our kids and our families, but also our clients and our businesses because of the type of work that we're in. And this is a really exciting time because more and more people are ready to make change. They just don't know how. And you and I talking and Connie talking and Andre being on, these are people that are going to help influence your clients, my clients, anybody who's listening to this to see the little things you can do every day really make a big difference, 10 years down the road. So, I'm excited to talk to you about it.
So what got you into fitness? How did you start your journey into wanting to help others?
Well, I don't know if you know about Helper's High, but there is some really great hormonal boosts that you can get by helping other people achieve things. And so I've always been a really natural coach because I was a bossy kid. I think I just told people what to do. And but as an adult and being, wanting to be a good teammate, wanting to be a leader, wanting to be a compassionate leader for people who are starting out, I got started just because I had so much energy and somebody said, I think you'd be really good at this. So I had my own trainer at the time and he said, I think you would be really good at this. You should try it. And so I did. And I kind of got set onto a path of learning how to help people with injuries and learning how to help the aging population gain independence, well into the next era for longevity. And then, we started working, people would come into the club. I worked at a Good Life at the time. People come into the club and like someone would have MS and everyone would be really scared and not want to work with that person. So I put my hand up and say, I'll learn it. I'll see how I can help you. And I think just wanting to help people, making a huge assist on somebody achieving something really big for them and their life really just gets me very excited. I'm in the right line of work to help influence people, even on, again, the smallest little changes. So I had a good trainer. I've had many great trainers since then. So here's a key. Personal trainers also have their own coaches and trainers. Business people have their own coaches and trainers. So this is what helps us get that really long-term outlook.
And so what brought you to your coach? What was it that you were looking for that you hired your first strength and conditioning coach?
Well, this is 24-year-old me or 25-year-old me and feeling like a little bit deconditioned, like I'd never really been in that space before, lacking body confidence, but also knowing like I'm an athlete, like I can turn this around. And this guy that I worked with, he lifted heavy, he trained hard, he was very consistent. He preached about the process, not like, I don't want to hear about your arm fat. I want to hear that you did your workout and you ate your breakfast and that you did all the check marks of the day. And then we're going to see body transformation. So as a young woman, young adult woman, he really framed it that do the work, focus on the performance, and you'll get the goal. You'll get the aesthetic, you'll get the chin up, you'll get the weight increase. And that was, for everybody who wants it in a hurry. And this is like, early 2000s, before social media even was a big thing. So, there was no one really to compare or follow. And he just had it. He had the like day in and day out grind. And I really wanted to be like that guy. I'm happy to say that I am. And I did turn out to be that way, but it took a long time. And really that little bit of a grind every day, or those consistent deposits into the project were really the difference makers.
So you went and saw a strength coach because you felt like you were deconditioned, you needed extra support. And so tell us about your sporting background, because I think that we haven't gotten into that yet. So tell us about why you felt like you needed to get that strength and conditioning for other reasons, because obviously you told me a little bit about your sports history. So what were you doing at that point in terms of your sporting?
So when I started working with a trainer, I was in my late 20s. I was involved in my touch football world. I was competing in probably 5 to 7 tournaments a year. So that would be a weekend, five to 7 games. And so I really, I saw a lot of women who were older than me in their 30s and 40s, remember I'm in my 20s, seeing like they're playing sports at a very high level at their age and their moms. And so I saw people that I wanted to be like. They were doing things that seemed reasonable, but also seemed really in line with who I was trying to be. And so seeing people having longevity in sports, women well into their 40s and some in their 50s, I was like, yeah, that's got to be me. Like and my dad played national level hockey with the military until he was in his late 50s. And I thought, I want to be like that. And so I worked with my trainer and I said, I just want to be a beast. I want to be able to play. I want to be able to play sports. I want to be strong. I want to do things that other girls or women can't, at the time. Now I want every girl and woman to do what I can do. And I want to share that. But yeah, I just wanted that competitive edge. And then I realized, the longevity of a career of an athlete, especially amateur, having a day job, I had to put the work in and it wasn't going to just happen. And that's when I went from being kind of in a beer league situation, which was the social, to we practice every week. We compete every other weekend. We play against men's teams now because we're at that level and we need greater competition to try to win at a national level. And so it was all of this sort of building and building to, I can't do this on my own. I don't know how to do it. I know, there was so much I was learning as a new trainer and a person new to a fitness facility. Like I belong attitude wise, but knowledge, I was a huge imposter, felt like I didn't know anything. And then, time passes and you get comfort level and all of a sudden you realize, I am on the right track. I am doing the right things. I run faster now than I did when I was a teenager. I have faster recovery now than I did when I was in my 20s because awesome. I prioritize that, awesome. Right? You're putting more work in. We're being a bit wiser now. I definitely don't behave the same way I did when I was younger in terms of alcohol consumption and late nights. But that's not the glory that I want anymore, right? I want to show up and play and show up for my friends and my teammates and me, right? And me, like this gives me a huge level of enjoyment in life. And I'm in control of my life. So I get to decide the enjoyable things I put in there because you don't always get to decide the other stuff. So I want to program my life so it's fun.
And so now fast forwarding as a 43-year-old mom, so you have one child, right?
One child, yeah, 6-year-old son.
In terms of what's your day look like? What does your week look like in terms of hours worked, training wise? How many hours? So how many hours do you see clients per week? Is it 15, 20, 30?
It's usually between 20 and 25 in person and about five virtually, as I do have a bit of a hybrid situation.
So you're doing about 30 hours a week of coaching, right?
Yeah, which is a lot for me. I feel like that's kind of where I don't want to give it all away. I want to save some for myself. It's high energy life work. And then my own training. Yeah. So I would train. I'm training probably 3 to 4 days a week in the gym where I'm lifting weights. So this would be like a proper warm up, an A series, a B series, a C series, like a good, hour to hour and 20 minutes of solid focus program time. The other parts of the week that involve physical activity is I play once a week in a winter league. So that's just a little run around with the gals to get the legs going and have some fun and do some development for the winter. But I also like one of the things I do every day is rehab. Always be rehabbing is one of my big mantras, because if you want to play sports or you want to train, or even if you just have the like nagging body pains, those things don't go away on their own. They need treatment, they need, mobility, they need strength. So every day I'm putting some sort of deposit into that rehab. So it could be, tib raises and calf raises. It could be stretching and mobilizing the upper body and neck. So there's always some element, and I have a checklist. I use a habit tracker, and that really is a huge contributor. And I don't talk a lot about that, and I really feel like I should, because behind the scenes stuff is really important to understand the big picture of how to get, where you want to go. So
how many minutes of that are you doing per day? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes?
It's probably max 20 minutes, Harry. Like, and
Okay.
it might be broken up. Like I might do 5 minutes while I'm standing at the sink doing something, and I'll do another 5 minutes while I'm waiting for a client to arrive. Little things. It's not a big workout. It's just these little, what I call snacks for the gym, or the little rehab checklist. And, those things go a long way, and they add up to a lot. Even what I call Netflix and skill. So if anybody is having a hard time taking themselves away from their nighttime consumption of media, get a foam roller, do your stretches while you're watching your shows. This is, this is critical, especially if you're having a difficulty detaching from your Netflix or insert media, and you're having trouble finding time to do the things that you're trying to commit to. So Netflix and skill is always a big recommendation from me.
We are seeing more of that, like just clients who have a yoga mat and a foam roller.
Right.
And while they're watching TV, they're just foam rolling or stretching, because you can do two things at once.
You can.
And and the other thing is you feel great after, and you have a great sleep because you've just relaxed your body from sitting all day long.
Right. And the sitting too, right? If you sit all day, then this is a great place to stretch your hips and your back, and get yourself a little bit more in touch with your body.
So in terms of, so you do 30 hours a week plus your training. So what does nutrition look like for you in terms of, so I want to ask two questions.
Okay.
One is, what's one or two things that you do nutritionally for yourself every day? And then the second question is going to be, what are some nutritional changes or recommendations you've made for your clients? Because obviously with 10 years of experience, you've probably worked with hundreds of people, and we make almost the same type of recommendations 80% of the time, right? Like maybe your client with MS would have a different type of eating system, but I'm positive that you could share with us, based on the hundreds of clients that you've worked with, 1 to 3 changes that you've made or recommendations to your client, and they always come back and say, wow, that change really changed the game. So let's go into that one, and then after that, you can tell us what you do in terms of like, what are some one or two things you do? So what's 1 to 3 habits or suggestions you've made to clients that they've come back and asked you and told you that said, hey, that was rock star. Like that's a game changer of a change.
So the first thing is fueling for performance. So when we look at like people's, shifting the paradigm away from being on a diet and understanding that you need to eat for your goals. So if you're trying to do, so it could be like leading the day with protein. This is one of the biggest changes that has been made in all of my clients. Eat whatever time you're going to eat breakfast. So whenever you have your first meal, like ideally waking up or upon daylight, is getting a big serving of protein and getting that, shifting the paradigm away from breakfast foods. This has been a huge transition for so many of the women that I work with, having them eat like a near dinner type protein meal for breakfast. One, they report that they don't have the afternoon crash. So they're not reaching for caffeine late in the day. 2, they're saying that they're full all morning, that they're not even thinking about eating. They're able to go head down and really work hard through the morning. So if they eat their breakfast at 8, by lunch at noon, they're going like, I'm not really hungry yet. Like they're listening to kind of those natural cues. And that's kind of foreign when you have a scheduled lunchtime or a scheduled eating time. So the protein breakfast, and just eating more protein in general, and also the timing of the eating. So stopping eating at a certain time in the evening is helping sleep. If we get better sleep, we have better recovery. Picking foods that agree with you. Like, Harry, you might tolerate broccoli and cauliflower, but I don't. So if I eat those foods, I'm so uncomfortable. So
let's slow down. So one is, you're saying is that you've recommended more protein, right?
Huge winner.
And your clients have reported back better satiety, better energy, less crashing when they eat more protein.
Right.
Then number two is you've recommended eating less late at night,
Mhm.
right? Having a little bit of a cutoff time
Yes,
because
love the cutoff.
they've improved sleep.
Yep.
And then number three is basically what you're saying is listening to your body and actually saying to yourself, hey, I just ate broccoli and cauliflower and I feel lethargic, bloated, gassy.
Mhm.
Maybe I should take a break from these foods, and
Yep.
maybe I should take a break from the volume because they don't make me feel good. Fair?
Yeah,
Yeah.
listening to the body, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that a lot of people are sometimes I feel like they're confused about because
Mhm.
I've had a client who told me, well, I eat lots of quinoa, and then she would have diarrhea or she would have gas or bloating. She would feel lethargic. And I said, well, why do you keep eating it? She goes, well, everybody tells me it's healthy. And I think
Right.
making that change to, well, what's healthy for me isn't necessarily healthy for you. And we
Mhm.
can all feel different after eating food. Like I'm allergic to eggs, gluten, and kiwi. It's just way my body is. I do not feel
Yeah.
well after eating them. And
Mhm.
people are afraid to say this, but it's a universal principle. Everything is personalized, right?
Right.
It's no different than if someone walks in the gym with you and they say, you know what, doing back squats really hurt
Mhm.
my shoulders. Okay, well,
There's
luckily
lots
for
of other
us, we
squats.
can,
Yeah.
yeah, we can do a goblet, you can do a split squat, whereas they feel like they've been told, well, back squats is king. Well, it's
Mhm.
just like broccoli or cauliflower or those foods. They just been told that gluten or dairy is so good for you, but it's like it makes you feel worse.
Right.
It's okay. We can find more variety in your diet.
Yeah.
And so in terms of let's just go back to that one where people listen to their bodies. What are some foods for you? Do you mind sharing that with us? Of that,
Yeah.
because I think that I think as professionals, we're pretty in tune with our body. Plus, you being an athlete,
Mhm.
we've tried the 100 diets, the different
Yeah.
diets out
Yeah.
there, and we kind of have just said we've made notes while we go along. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? So, what are one or three foods that for you you're like, just I limit the intake of that food.
So these are all foods that I like also. So it's
Mm,
disappointing to find that out, but Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, those
mhm.
four foods give me a very strong bloating response. Even if they're cooked into soups or things,
Yeah.
I just have a really hard time with them. Alcohol
Mm.
has, unfortunately, really done a number on me. The swelling, the inflammation, even like my face and hands swell up and I get really bad headaches. And I only really noticed that after I stopped consuming it,
Yes.
regularly. I didn't notice that in the time where the vegetable stuff was pretty significant. I do okay with dairy, but like it has to be whole dairy or full fat dairy because I do love cheese. I don't know anybody who doesn't really like cheese, but that's for them. Sugar, I actually have a really high tolerance for sugar, so I have to be careful. I do a lot of baking at home. We bake a lot of goods, so decreasing that amount of sugar that we're using doesn't change the recipe at all. So I really watch with that. So I use honey and maple. They get a bit of a different response from me, but yeah, those are kind of the top ones. I eat a lot of fruit and some dairy and meat and eggs. I love eggs. They really agree with me. I went through again that like elimination process of what's working, what's not working, and it gets kind of boring because you end up eating a lot of the same things all the time.
Mm.
But I feel great. So if I have had to make peace with variety is something that you can have, but if I have too much variety, it's hard to track how my body's responding to things. So I think that's kind of a sort of saving grace is like if you can eat really streamlined the things that agree with you, you have a better chance of knowing what's working and what's not.
And so, in terms of fruit, how much fruit would you eat in a day? Like in terms of, it's
Yeah,
one of
like
the
I
things
maybe would
that, like a pound, half a pound, three apples, because a lot of people will say to us, "Oh, I don't eat a lot of fruit. There's a lot of
right,
sugar." I'm like,
right,
but you're eating five cookies.
right.
Like if you get rid of the five cookies and ate, in terms of calories,
Yeah,
those, let's say an average cookie is about 200 calories, 1,000 calories. I'm like, you could be eating pounds and pounds of
you could
fruit to the
have a
point where
banana. Yeah,
and you
like
wouldn't even hit that. You
yeah.
wouldn't even hit 1,000 calories in fruit. It's so much fruit. So
So
how
when
much
I was
fruit would you eat?
I would say that like when I was a kid, I grew up, I ate a banana a day. Like a banana was like a classic snack for me. So I do like to eat a banana every day, but it's not every day. But I would say probably like half a pound of fruit. Like I'm
Okay.
I'm eating berries, I'm eating melons. It's more when it's in season and local, I crush it all. I just spend all my money at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
But in the winter, it's a little bit less because it's kind of scarce and more expensive.
Yes.
But apples, I love apples. I love oranges. We eat a ton of fruit in our house. It's usually we'll have our heavy protein protein breakfast. And then we'll have our fruit is sort of I see it as it's the vitamins, the minerals, and the fun, right? Because it's sweet, it's enjoyable, it's palatable, it's colorful, especially if you do have kind of a drab plate. If you're just having sort of meat and cheese for breakfast, a couple orange slices and a banana or some berries, like really completes that. Plus you get all that fiber, right? I feel like I'm getting all those micronutrients that are not really present in a lot of other things. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of fruit. I don't eat a lot of vegetables again because they don't agree, but I'm heavy on the fruit, and I will try just about anything, in or out of season. So
what are 3 non-negotiable things that you do for your health as a 43-year-old mom, like an athlete that trains and who works 30 hours a week with their body, right? I think some people say, oh, it's only 30 hours a week.
No.
People don't realize being in the gym, training a client with the transference of energy, the mental, like the mental that they come in with, that you have to then spin them into a good mood if they come into a bad mood. Then the lifting of the weights, the reps that you do with them. And if they're having an off day, you might do 3 workouts in a day, be like, yo, I got this with you. Let's do it. Let's crush it out. So what are 3 non-negotiables that you do for your health every day across the board? What are 3 simple things?
So since becoming a mom, my son is 6. I had a C-section delivery. So that was an unplanned recovery. The number one thing, Harry, and I know you're not going to be surprised, is rest and recovery. Okay. Rest and recovery is the most important aspect of my entire regiment. If I'm not rested, I'm going to have a poor appetite. I'm going to eat things.
I'm just going to stop you there for 1 sec. What does that mean? Because see, everybody talks about rest and recovery, but someone might say, well, I drank 3 glasses of wine and that's recovery for me. Do you see what I mean? So what does it mean to Erika to mean I am actually going to rest and recover? What does that mean?
So 1, managing my calendar and not saying yes to too many things. That's the first part. I need to go to bed at the same time. Most nights, if it's like between 9 and 10, it's sort of that 9 o'clock. So I have my cut off for food, cut off for tech, cut off for bedtime. So I try to manage that. So say like between 9 and 10, I'm in bed. Last night it was 8:30, which was amazing because I was really needing it. I wake up about the same time every day, sometimes around 5:30 or 6, sometimes 6:30, like in that kind of window. I can also sleep anywhere, anytime. So I love to nap. I often will take a 30-minute nap midday, especially because, charging up for that evening client to roster. And making sure that all of that gets synced up with daylight. So I'm really trying hard to, see the sunrise or get daylight before I eat my breakfast, and make sure that the tech use is downgrading before I have my settle down time to go to bed, at least an hour before bed with no technology, using red lights or using low lighting, not overhead lighting. Like all of those things really help me unwind, right? Because the technology is that artificial light that's keeping us awake at night and making it hard to turn off the TV or the phones. Or
so number 1 you're saying is you make sure that you sleep at the same time and you wake up at the same time. Right?
So I'm getting between 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep is sort of anything less than 7 is bad news for me. So that's a very big priority.
Then number 2 is you try to keep your circadian rhythm in sync, right? So meaning when the sun is up, you're eating a lot more food, you're outside more, you're trying to get that sunlight on you. And then as the night goes down, as the evening goes, you get off tech, you eat less food. So, which is good. Okay. So, that's number 2. What's the second thing? So that's rest and recovery for you.
Rest and recovery.
And then what's number 2?
Having the protein breakfast, that's critical. I have to have a huge breakfast. I never skip breakfast. I'll often skip lunch because I just don't need to eat midday, or I'll have that's when I'll have fruit, or I'll have a little snack. If I have some homemade baked goods, I like to have that with my coffee. That might be pre-workout, right? I'm at my break. I need some energy, a little bit of a boost to go hit the weights. So I'll do that. And then usually, again, protein-led dinner, but it's going to be smaller than my breakfast. So it sort of tapers off, right? Front and load the day with all the calories or all the food energy I need. And then as we get to the end of the day, it's more just to enjoy that extra serving, make sure I've gotten enough. I don't count calories, but I'm counting portions and servings. So to make sure that I got enough of what I need for the day.
So tell us, what does that portion of protein look like? We've got to hear that. Like, this is where I like to get nitty-gritty with. So what does a portion of protein look like? Is it 4 ounces, 5 ounces, 6 ounces? How do you kind of figure out that protein serving?
So we have dishes that are pre-measured. So we just fill the dish to the line, and that's a really helpful food prep tool. But like if I'm going to say eat like a ground beef taco bowl, it would probably be 6 to 8 ounces of ground beef
Okay,
in a
that's a lot.
bowl. Yeah, it's a lot. So
That's
I
a
would have
lot.
like yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's like
Um
that's a good serving. That's a healthy portion. That's about 220 grams. That's a lot.
Now, when I started eating meat for breakfast, which was new for me when I started, 10, 15 years ago doing these changes, I would have like 4 ounces because it was harder to palate in the morning. You're used to different fun cereals and things, right? So I would have a fried egg with some ground beef. And that was, trying to get different experiences. And we make our own bread. So I would have from time to time, I would have a slice of bread in there as well. Because again, you're transitioning yourself away from mainstream norms to more ancestral or more health appropriate or goal appropriate actions. So yeah, so like a fist size, if I'm like having a chicken breast, or I like chicken thighs and legs way better. So, I'll eat like 4 legs or two chicken thighs or a chicken thigh leg back.
Yeah.
Farm Boy, they sell them real cheap. You can roast them. They turn out nice. You can turn it into a soup as well. So always looking for those, like, how can we, extend the life of the protein sources we're choosing? But yeah, that would be kind of, and then a fruit serving size would be like, I would eat like an apple and a banana, or I
Right.
would have
So that's
a bunch of berries, and maybe some slices of orange or something like
so
that.
you have a big breakfast. That's like so,
Huge.
and so it's because a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, I had one egg and I
Yeah,
had
it's
half an apple." Well,
it's
that's
like
enough food. I don't
nothing.
want to eat. No, 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 no. It's like
Yeah.
eat a lot more food. Like
Yeah.
you're eating probably, if you're eating 6 to 8 ounces and 2 cups of fruit, that's a big breakfast to keep you
Huge.
full and keep you energized and not thinking
Hmm.
about food. So then what would the third thing do that you do? So it's number one is you sleep every day, wake up in the morning, at night, same time. You try to keep your circadian in check. You eat a very big, big, big monster
Hmm.
breakfast. And so what would be the number one third? What would be the third thing that you as a non-negotiable would do for your health every day?
I have to move my body. So moving your body is critical to feeling good, to being healthy, it's the cornerstone of learning. It's a huge pillar in mental health management. So that would come in the form of outside play. So it could be a walk, a hike, something with the family on the weekend. That could be lifting weights in the gym. That's my always be rehabbing, right? Just kind of stealing, begging, borrowing moments to work on my extra accessory stuff. And that could also be playing football, like I said, play, or like meeting up with a girlfriend that I haven't seen forever and going for a mall walk. And like, yes, we do mall walks in the winter
Mhm.
because we want to just chit chat.
Mhm.
Honestly, there's the simplest things you can do to just move your body and be active. It doesn't always have to be high intensity or things like that, especially if you're just starting out. But
And
lifting weights and moving my body, like my husband will say, "When was the last time you lifted? Because you don't seem very well right now." Like it's his nice way of saying, you're in a bad mood. You should go do
yeah.
something about it.
And do you have like a minute goal or a target or any trackable system that you use for that? Or you just say, I gotta do at least 30-minute walk? What do you use to track that? Or is it just in your schedule? You're
Well, it's
doing
it's in
this.
my schedule. I have a couple of visuals. So I have a
Okay.
checklist here. So have a
Okay.
paper checklist at my
Yeah.
desk. So that could be like get up off. I'm at a stand-up desk right now, but that
Okay.
could be like do your chest stretch or do your good mornings. And like if I do 10 good mornings in between my gap of clients, I just pump some blood flow through my hips and knees,
Yeah.
right? And so things like that. I use Habit Share. Habit Share is an app. It's a really simple free app, and you can plug in whatever you're trying to do and schedule it. And then you just check it off, and then you get that dopamine, right? We like
Yeah.
that dopamine. We're tracking the metrics of how many deposits we're making. And then I have systemized training programs that I use. So I want to show up for those because they're exciting and fun. They're that sort of next level challenge that allow me to be an athlete and express my potential in the gym. And that's fun. I see myself getting better at lifting weights or doing the skill based activities. And, it's the same boring stuff: squat, bench, push,
Yeah.
pull, lift, lunge, carry. It's just separated into different formats. So that's kind of what keeps it exciting, but that's the goal, is just move your body every day, and it will pay you back in the future. And I could not picture myself in any other kind of format of behavior because I would just be really unhappy. My body would ache. I know what it's like to deal with chronic back pain and chronic ankle pain, and that's why I'm always be rehabbing attitude, because you have to work on this stuff as you go, especially if you want to get to the fun stuff like fat loss training or chin up training or maybe physique building some muscle to see some toning, right? So we got to get all that stuff kind of aligned so that it all feeds into the same the same bucket, the same goal.
What I would like to share with clients is what are some things that you do when you get in a nutrition rut? Because we've all been
Ooh,
there.
okay, yeah, okay.
What is one trick or two tricks that you've kind of helped your clients get out of that rut? You know, they had a bad couple of days, and the next thing you know, it's rolling and it's 2 days, and it turns into like 3 days. What are some tips that you could offer? Just like quick 1 to 3 things that you could offer somebody as a tip to kind of get out of that rut.
Right. Start right now.
Okay.
Start right now. Do not wait. So that would be the first thing, and pick one thing. We always talk about the dominoes. We're trying to knock down dominoes, right? We're trying to make change. So what's the easiest domino to knock down? Is that the big breakfast in the morning? Okay. If it's not, is it maybe let's not drink during the week and save up those alcohol calories for the weekend? It's finding one strategy that they can commit to. And it's not, I mean, I'll suggest, but it's not my idea. It has to be theirs because you have to do it, not me. And so I'll encourage them to find that one thing that they could make change with right now, right today, and then maybe forecast what the next thing after that might be, but nothing extreme. Everything should be sustainable in the long game, in the long term. We're trying to create habits and lifestyle so that we never have to think about being on a diet, or we don't have to, like, now I don't think about it. I just program my life this way. Listen, I eat pizza. There's lots of variants. We make pizza at home. We order pizza in. We have those things. We have a life. You know, we're not like this sterile, perfect family. Far from it. But we've learned along the way what works for us, what we like, what our balance is. And so I think, double down on the consistency of that behavior and that one thing. And that really helps a lot of people. And they might just need encouragement, like, hey, maybe we should get onto some more protein with our meals, or maybe you should be trying to go to bed earlier. Because when you don't go to sleep, you wake up with a different type of appetite. You know, you're going to crash faster. You're going to reach for that caffeine. You're going to have a different kind of hormonal response throughout the day. So looking at how they all connect to each other. But the one thing for every client is their why, because they have to understand why they're doing it. Why are they making these sacrifices? And just relaying it back to the reason they started, the reason they're here, the reason they want it. Like, why do you want this so bad? It's not for me. And I really get them to look inward and find this is how you make these changes significantly long term, is by seeing that every step you take is a vote for the person you're trying to be, right? That's James Clear in Atomic Habits. Every step is a vote for who you're trying to be. So get clear on the why you're doing it. And because we know that it's going to work, we know it's going to help us. It's just when you're stuck in a rut, and I let them know, I also get stuck in a rut. And here's what I do. I pick that one thing, I focus on it. I try to repeat it a few days in a row. Then you feel like you're winning. You don't feel so much as you're failing, because there's so many mistakes that need to be made on the road to success and to figuring all this out for yourself, even if you're working with a coach or a trainer or a helper, right? So
awesome.
I think that's yeah.
Pick one thing and just build the momentum off that, and take that big rock and just be like, you know what, I'm not going to drink alcohol for the next 2 weeks till I'm back on track, or I'm just going to eat as much protein as I can to keep myself full. I'm not going to worry about it. That's I think that's a very common thing that even we say in our office, that when clients fall off, we're like, hey, okay, let's just pick 2 or 3 things that this week that are going to get you back on track. It doesn't need to be perfect, but let's just make sure we start building back towards that. And then what we also notice is that clients, as they get better and move from a beginner to an intermediate, they catch themselves faster. With before, like even me, I would fall off for 3 or 4 days. Now it's like a meal. It's like, okay, well, I'll just get back on track. It happens, right?
Yes, exactly.
And it can happen to all of us. Okay, so Eric, this is amazing, full of great information, lots of energy. I can feel it, which is great. And so how can if anybody says, you know what, I want her energy, I want her to coach me, how does someone get a hold of you?
You can find us at Point One Performance, and I'm on Instagram at eblay33. I gotta do something about my social media life. I'm learning to be more comfortable about that. So yeah, Point One Performance is where you can work with me in person, and we have a great website, and you can reach out to our director. And I am an ambassador with the Activate FitCon with Connie's amazing event. So hopefully you will see more of me in Ottawa talking about how I want to share my energy with you. If you want to come sit in the front row with me at Activate, you can definitely find me there. I think we're going to have a great end of this year and a great start to the next year, in everybody really wanting to get moving, wanting to get change in their life, and take hold of the reins and stop waiting for the perfect moment, because it will never arrive. Let's just do it. Start today.
It's amazing. And that, you can't give any better advice than just when people say Monday, I'm like, listen, it's Saturday. Tomorrow you can do something better.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to wait. So I think that's probably one of the best ways to end the show for the day. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you,
As
Harry.
usual,
Thank you
for sharing all of your energy, and make sure you follow Erika and see all the great things that she's doing with her clients. So we wish you luck in your football season, and
Thank you, Harry.
we shall talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Erika.